Thank you for your answer, Mr. Mayor. But you must know that the legal limit for PM 2.5s, which is the the measure is usually taken as, is 25 micrograms per cubic metre, and it's been decreasing since 2008, before you became mayor. Yes, it has decreased as well since you've been mayor, but it was already going down beforehand. But on the tubes, in the Victoria line, we have a level of 361 micrograms per cubic metre. That's 15 times the legal limit set by the European Union, which you so love. Now, is that a matter of urgency for you to deal with, Mr. Mayor?
It is a matter of urgency. Can I just distinguish tube dust and the particulate matter we see in the ambient outdoor air? Tube dust tends to be iron oxide, and there's some work being done by experts from around the world, who include Europeans who are EU citizens, some who are British residents, some who aren't. So TfL commissioned a report from the Committee on the Medical Effects of Air Pollution that concluded there were currently insufficient evidence of the health effects of underground particulate matter, and more research is needed. So we've commissioned the research. We're working with others to do further research, including King's, Imperial and Queen Mary, but it is a source of concern, and that's why we've paid for a cleaning exercise, and this has led to proactive action to prevent and contain tube dust at source, which is a £60 million cleaning regime. And the good news is, initial trials have showed a 73% reduction in respirable dust on the Piccadilly line following the trial, and we're now going to go into doing a similar trial on the Bakerloo and the line you mentioned, the Victoria line as well.
Okay, thank you for your answer. It's good there's been a reduction. But there was a letter from TfL written to the Environment Committee in October that said they're actually going to be testing for chromium-6 and arsenic. Now, arsenic, you know, is a highly toxic substance, and chromium-6 is a class 1 carcinogen. And what will you do if it's found that there are significant levels of those two substances in the air that people are breathing in the tubes?
Well, I hope you're reassured by the fact that TfL is leading the way. We're not burying away reports, or what we're doing instead is commissioning reports to find out what the situation is. TfL will do what they always do, which is follow the advice from the experts where they can. You'll be aware, one of the challenges we have is TfL is the oldest underground in the world. It's very deep. Some of the tunnels are very narrow, which means the space is very limited between the train and the station. We'll do what needs to be done to make sure we improve the situation.
Great. Well, that deals with the underground. Now, let me ask you another question about what's happening above ground, because you know, we know that PM 2.5s are within the legal limit. We know that nitrogen dioxide levels have come down, but you're proposing that from October 2020 that lorries will have to pay a £100 fee to come into the low emission zone. That's the whole of Greater London. I mean, and that's not, you know, that's not including more recent lorries, but it's including Euro 4 and 5 lorries, and that's going to be devastating for a lot of businesses, haulage businesses, particularly businesses that have renewed their fleets perhaps in 2014, 2015 and bought a whole new load of Euro 5 lorries to carry out their businesses. Would you consider those plans? I mean, considering the devastating effects that it's going to have on a lot of haulage businesses. I mean, I don't think that's the right thing for you to do in terms of business in London.
Well, the Assembly member in his question referred to the reductions in nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter without giving credit for why the reductions happened. So last year, there was a third reduction in NOx and a 13% reduction in particulate matter directly attributable to the ultra-low emission zone in central London. Now, the obvious question that begs is why can't we increase the pace of progress in reducing nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen oxide and particulate matter? The answer is, with me as mayor, we can. One of the ways we can do it is this year, you're right, we'll be taking action against the bigger vehicles who are polluting. And the very easy thing to do is to have compliant vehicles. But if you are going to pollute, you should pay. And from next year, we'll be extending new lists to up to the North Circular and South Circular for other vehicles currently covered by the central section. And I'll make this point. Okay, well,
Mr. Mayor, I wish we could carry on here, but I'm sort of out of time here. But I don't agree with your assessment that that's the right thing to do for the future. But perhaps we can carry on this conversation over a cup of tea. That would be very nice.